Hi, welcome to the Recovery Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Rachel Abbasi. I'm a grateful recovering alcoholic and stroke survivor. We are reporting to you from the living room. So we've got the pooches here. There's Autumn. There's Boris passed out. So hopefully we'll have some peace. They seem to be. They just went outside. So usually they're like, okay, I'm good until dinner time. Anyway, I am feeling very spinny today, which is a very unusual symptom for me. I went early this morning to wish my dad and my stepmother a bon voyage. If you can do that when somebody's getting on an airplane, I don't know. But anyway, I went there because they were leaving from an airport near my house, so I don't get to see him. So we went there and it was pretty fun. It was super cool. And they gave us more time than I had expected because they had a long trip ahead of them. So it was really nice to have a little bit of time to chat. And so walking from the parking lot of the airport through the airport to their check-in center, we were walking really fast until my husband was like, we need to slow down. He's getting over pneumonia too, which takes some time to be able to like breathe again and do that kind of activity. So he was starting to not be able to breathe, and um, I can't walk that fast, really. And so I do it until I start having symptoms. And right when he said that, I started to really, it was kicking in big time. And we had really only been walking for 5 minutes, I think, from the parking lot to the place. So we slowed down. I rode up an escalator. So I stood behind him, held his hand, and just kept my eyes looking down at his legs. I could see things moving in my peripheral, but yeah. And then when we got to the top of the escalator and we were in the departures area, that's when it kicked in big time. So I ended up just, I couldn't look around. I just tried to focus on what was right in front of me. And I had like super symptoms, super symptoms. So I probably got to about an 8. I was teetering on 9, um, as 1 out of 10 until we saw them. And then as we stood and talked to them for about 15, 20 minutes even, I was okay, but I could tell that if I moved my head, it would hurt. And so anyway, I was feeling all right. We took a nap midday and I woke up and I was feeling fine. And then we started cleaning out the refrigerator and I was taking the jars, like, jar of pickles or something. I was taking them from him and putting them on the counter. So I was moving my head back and forth. And then I was like, oh, I'm feeling a little spinny. So I sat down and then Autumn laid with me and I laid my head down on her. And then the room started spinning like the vertigo spinning, like the classic spinning. And I was like, oh, that I haven't felt this way since my vestibular test, when they induced that feeling. So I don't know what's going on today. Maybe I just surpassed my threshold. We'll see. But I wanted to record number 1 because I wanted to have my own documentation that I have a different symptom today, and I should write it down in my health journal as well. And I just didn't want to skip a day. So the topic that has been stuck in my mind, and I did not go to a sobriety meeting today, which is very unusual for me, but my trip to the airport was right in the middle of my normal meeting. So I don't know. I might be feeling a little off balance today. I never start a day without a sobriety meeting. So it was important for that reason too, that I record today, because this is one of my, my healthy habits. So that was another reason why I wanted to record. But the topic that's been going through my mind since I didn't get to go to a meeting started last night. I was thinking, so yesterday, my sister and I went to go see my uncle, my dad's brother, which I haven't seen in like 20 years, and for various reasons. And it was so emotional for me. I cried when I got back in the car because I had so many feelings that like overwhelmed me about, or that came rushing back to me, of my grandmother and my grandfather, and being at his house. And gosh, it was just a trip back in time. And then we looked through photo albums, which probably all of these things that I have done the past 2 days is probably why I'm feeling spinny. It's just unusual for me to feel spinny, but I've done a lot. Um, anyway, in preparation for that trip to see my uncle, I started thinking about old times, which can be dangerous thinking. Not about old times, but just thinking can be dangerous. And what I noticed was happening is I would think of something like my grandmother, for example. I would think of my grandmother um, sitting in my uncle's house on like Thanksgiving Day, and that's it. Like that was the initial thought. And then it led to another thought of sitting in her house. And then it would lead to a thought of her playing solitaire in her house. And then I would think of her playing I'm going somewhere, organ in her house. Then I was thinking of spending the night in her house while she was playing the organ. And then I was thinking of how scared I was sleeping in her house. And then I was thinking about the morning waking up and eating grapefruit with my grandfather. So it's a spiral, a thought spiral. And it all started with the fact that I was going to my uncle's house. That's where it all started. But it just continued to grow, and one thought would lead to another. And I thought about how when I was able to like step back and see what was happening inside of me, inside of my head, I was like, my thoughts are going, just like my dad, my thoughts are going on a voyage. And it's like I have to wave it back in when it gets to a certain point where I'm like getting uncomfortable or sad. Then I have to rein it back in and be like, okay, let's stop this thought spiral. But I was thinking, like, why does that happen? It's just so interesting that our brains do that. And mine does that all the time. And I think it's important to acknowledge it because I think that it is a big feeder of my anxiety and depression. Um, that I'll think of something, and it can be positive. I'll think of a positive memory and it can spiral, but that's right. If I'm being realistic, that doesn't happen as often as my negative thinking. And when I do these spiral episodes of thinking, it will totally impact my mood. And in turn, if I don't rein it back in, it could affect my overall mental health. It could get me into a mood for an entire week or more if I don't um, rein it back in. Those initial thoughts can trigger just a cascade of related thoughts. and then they can become increasingly intense and overwhelming. So those overwhelming feelings can begin to dominate my entire day and escalate into something that causes me to start having anxiety symptoms. And what I think is really related to this is what we do at work. I mean, I'm not working now in the career sense. I do have my podcast and I have created my job for myself, which I'm very proud of. It gives me purpose. But when I was working in my career, um, there are, a minor mistake. I remember this so vividly. A minor mistake at work can lead to thoughts of complete incompetence, fear that you're going to lose your job, fear of instability in the future, and just spirals into this complete discomfort and fear at work. Um, and it's really difficult to stop that. It can happen in jobs, in relationships. It can happen in any personal crisis. It can happen when we do something like, I don't know, react to somebody instead of respond. And then it's like, for me, it's like this panic feeling. For me, it's like when I was drinking and I'd wake up in the morning and be like, oh my God, what did I do the night before? And then it spirals very quickly from what did I do last night to this panic. It can turn into harboring resentments towards other people. It can harbor self-criticism towards ourselves, and it can perpetuate into this depression, really. Um, and for me, the longer I allow one of these thought spirals to exist and not rein it in, whatever that means, to control it, then reality begins to be distorted. And I will catastrophize, just like the work scenario. I'll catastrophize, and it makes it even harder to get out of it the longer that I let it sit there. So, how do I rein it in? So I asked Chatty McChatterton what his opinion was. So I thought I'd share with you what he told me. And I haven't read them. I haven't pre-read them. So this is live action happening. We'll see what he says and see if we can put it into practice. So what he says, some strategies for maintaining mental well-being and reining it in, as I'm calling it, or addressing thought spirals. So the first thing that Chatty recommends is mindfulness and meditation. Practicing mindfulness can help us stay in the present and prevent our mind from wandering into negative territories. You know what's hilarious? I was going to post this on Facebook last night, but I really had to go straight to bed because we were getting up at the crack of dawn to meet my dad. But I thought, the only time that I know for certain that I'm practicing mindfulness is when I'm eating like a hot fudge sundae or a ice cream cone. Because when I eat an ice cream cone, I do nothing else. I don't even like to talk to somebody while I'm eating my ice cream cone because I enjoy that ice cream cone, vanilla, Breyer's natural vanilla ice cream cone on a cake cone, jumbo cake cone. I do nothing else but eat that ice cream cone. And that is mindfulness. If I could bring that into various other activities in my life, I bet you I would be even more mentally healthy. But think about in your day, what is something that you do that you're like, I do not want to be disturbed right now. This is all I'm doing. And I think because I'm not working in my career anymore, I think I am able to be more mindful because I don't have that aggravating stress that's sitting in the back of my mind, for sure. So my heart goes out to all of you who do still feel that underlying stress. And I think that it inhibits mindfulness. And I think that that's because I am fully experienced in having that, I can tell you how it's so much more important to practice mindfulness, knowing that you have that underlying stress sitting there, that underlying constant thought about work. And I got to do this, I got to do that. Oh, this person pissed me off, all of that stuff. Like, finding ways to whatever it is, that thing that you do in your life that's like, no, I don't want to be disturbed. This is all I'm doing. Even a shower, um, I can be taking a shower, but I'm not thinking about the fact that I'm taking a shower. Taking a shower, and I've heard somebody say this in my sobriety meeting. There's a guy who often talks about the profound thoughts that he has in the shower. For me, it's a thought spiral. That's exactly what happens in the shower. And more and more, I can acknowledge that that's happening, and take a deep breath. I've told you before, you lifetime listeners, that I love to take a deep breath and envision whatever it is that I don't want to hold on to, letting go of that. It derived from when I was smoking, and I was quitting smoking, and I started picking up this deep breathing thing where I would envision that I was inhaling cigarette smoke. But for me, if I take a deep breath like that, it almost feels like a hit from a cigarette. So, or from a vape. Anyway, I'm able to do that, and it seems to replace vaping for me, but I know that it doesn't work for everybody. So, mindfulness and meditation, deep breathing and meditation can calm the mind and reduce the intensity of spiraling thoughts. For me, if I'm having a spiraling thought, it's like I put up a roadblock, take a deep breath, and then exhale the rest of it out. And it's like the road has cleared, there's nothing on it, and I can start new thinking. That's what's going on in my brain. I have a lot of visionary, no, and I'm envisioning a lot of things in my mind as I practice all of this stuff. That's just where my mind goes. Cognitive restructuring is what Chatty says for number 2. Changing and reframing negative thoughts can help break the cycle of a thought spiral. Evaluating the validity of your thoughts and considering alternative perspectives, you can reduce negative thinking patterns. For me, I would say that sure, that's all fine and good, but you can't do that unless you acknowledge that you're having a thought spiral. I think that that seems to be the most important step there. mindfulness meditation, cognitive restructuring, physical activity, which is going to be the next one. Um, that's fine, but I can do thought spiraling while I'm doing number three, physical activity. When I was when I was running, when I used to run every day and I loved it, I would run a 5K. Um, my brain would be thinking about things, and my what I think was healthy about it is, sure, I was in a thought spiral while I was running, but I was it was, again, with envisioning, it was like I was burning that fuel. That thought spiral that was happening was fuel for my running. And while I ran, I was burning it off. Um, so by the end of running, I didn't have it anymore. So that's what I envisioned when I was running. Like, yes, I was welcoming the thought spirals while I was running because it helped me run. And I didn't necessarily like it as a distraction. It was, if I could run without it, I would much rather run without it. But if I had thought spiraling happening, then I'm like, yeah, let's feed it into the fire, feed it into the fire. And then by the time I'm done running, it's cleared out. Again, the road is clear and open for new thoughts. Number four, Chatty says journaling. Write down your thoughts can help externalize them and make it easier to identify patterns and challenge negative thinking. I did this for a period of time when I had an hour and a half commute. I would think for an hour and a half during the commute. My thoughts were spiraling like crazy. And then I would get into my office, shut the door, open my journal, and I would just do a brain dump of everything that I was thinking. If I was thinking, such and such hates me, then I would write down such and such hates me. If I was thinking, whenever I pick up the phone, I get a stomach ache, I would write down, whenever I pick up the phone, I have a stomach ache. And then by the time I was done journaling and writing all of that stuff down that was stuck in my head, then once again, the road was clear, and I was open for thinking about work. That was really, really helpful to me. So I would recommend that. It was something I came up with myself. I was like, I need to get this stuff out of my head so that it will stop spiraling. So I wrote it down on paper, and it really worked for me. So I recommend it. And then Chatty recommends, oh, Chatty, you silly guy, recommends professional support. Of course he does. If thought spirals become unmanageable and you're really thinking about things that are very unhealthy, then definitely reach out to a mental health professional, and they can help you tailor strategies and figure out some intervention so that you can stop that thought spiraling, and possibly medication if that's what you need. I need medication, or else I have crazy, the crazy comes out in my head. So that is also definitely a recommendation from me. So understanding that we are having a thought spiral is the most important part of all of these strategies, to be not to just be self-aware. That's really, I think, the most important part, is to be able to say, it's happening. This is going down a bad road. And then you can say, what do I need to do about it? And do something. But just saying it's happening is, I think, the first step to figuring out how to um, manage it, right? So that's what I have. That was helpful. Thank you, Chatty. I'm going to say thank you. Whoops. Thank you. Let's see what he says back to me. Please hold while we wait. Hopefully he doesn't take a long time. So how you doing? Let's just wait for him. How you doing, people? Okay, he's done. He says, "You're very welcome, smiley face. If you have more questions or need support on anything else, don't hesitate to ask. Take care." He wants us to take care. We love Chatty. Okay. All right. Well, thanks for joining me today. I'm going to rest up and hopefully the spinnies will go away. I have like the normal symptoms right now as I'm doing this, the like unstable, like I feel like somebody hit me in the head, like that shaken head feeling. I have that normal since that's normal for me. I have that feeling right now. So we'll see if the spinnies go away. If not, I don't know. I'm just going to have to keep resting until it does go away. So thanks for joining me. Thanks for showing up for yourself. And I will talk to you tomorrow.